What is going down, everyone? It's time for Mojobreak.com, The Hype. This is episode 205. We got a lot of things to go over. Football season, week one. A lot of fun watching the games in Vegas. And there's a lot to talk about as far as three rookie wide receivers getting touchdowns. We got Jameis Winston, who threw 5 touchdowns, somehow only got 150 yards, which makes no sense. So we're going to go over some of those card prices. Optic NBA is dropping this Friday, so get ready for that. We're going to be still talking about LaMelo. Hopefully not talking about Miles Bridges, but LaMelo and all the rookies from the 2021 season. We're also going to look back on, some of the Optic hollows and what some of the prices have gone for, what some of the Lukas, Jason Tatum, some of the bigger names over the last 5 years from Optic, and maybe kind of compare to the Prism and Select collectors. So, and then lastly, we're going to talk Vlad Shohei, because I think that's your clear-cut high-end cards that are selling right now are those two guys in baseball. And it's kind of, some of the numbers are staggering. So once again, Mojobreak.com is the website. We're here on our Mojobreak media channel where all of our content, all of our podcasts are. So hit subscribe on that YouTube. And thank you guys for listening to the audio version on either Spotify or whatever audio channel, podcast network you guys are on. We appreciate you guys. And we ran into a few of you guys at the summit to listen to the show. Thanks for sticking with us. And I know we're a day late, but that's because we were in Vegas for the Industry Summit, which is going to be the first topic of the show. Dan almost moved to Vegas. Yeah, he was almost living there. That's how long he was there. How was it?
I'm going to be honest. I felt like I did live there. I think I'm paying Nevada sales tax now, or income tax. And, it's 6 days. It's too many. I highly recommend don't do Vegas for 6 days.
Right.
I'll be back there next week. You'll be back there next week. Not work related, so going to be a completely different type of trip. So I'm glad to be back in the Bay. It's not 107 degrees here. It's not all of a sudden just has a thunderstorm and just a downpour. You missed it. I was there for it. Lightning, just crazy. I mean, but that's Vegas. So Industry Summit. I know this isn't on our list, but I'm going to talk about the card show that they had right before the Industry Summit, because I was there Friday and Saturday for the card show. About 200 tables, completely sold out. A lot of good stuff, a lot of high ticket items, but a lot of the same players that we talk about on this show with ridiculous price tags on it. Every case had some Patrick Mahomes. Every case had some Shohei Ohtani. Every case had some, Vlad. Brady. Everybody was well represented. Those are not really the players that I was looking to purchase, but a lot of big cards with big price tags, and well represented. A lot of collectors there. A lot of people bringing Pelican cases, looking to show up without a booth, trying to sell their product, try to sell their singles, and not a lot of trades at all. But overall, Fanatics was there. They had a booth. They were selling some signed jerseys, blind wrap jerseys. They were selling some blind wrapped boxes. You get like 5 items. They had different tiers. They had a silver tier, gold tier, platinum tier. They also had a Brady box where it was 5 blind wrapped Tom Brady items. Coming to Mojobreak near you.
Yep. Yeah, and Dan was telling me about the product. I'm excited. We're going to have some breaks on Mojobreak.com of this Fanatic stuff. And if you guys aren't familiar with the Fanatic, I know a lot of you guys, we broke Leaf over the years. We have done some Fanatics as well. Maybe not as much as we're going to be doing now in the future, but the reason why is the stuff's authentic, right? So it is, fully licensed jerseys. You're not getting that stuff where the player signed a letter and then the letter was, put on a cheap knockoff jersey. This is the real deal stuff. So it's quality, and you're going to see some of the stuff in breaks. Like, we're going to add some baseballs into some like mixers where it's like, maybe somebody who didn't get a hit is eligible to win a, Buster Posey signed baseball, or maybe a Mike Trout signed baseball, something like that. So we're excited to be doing that kind of stuff. It was kind of perfect timing for us. We've been doing so many cards, and we haven't been doing a whole lot of memorabilia stuff. And, I know you guys out there that are listening have man caves or an area where you're, maybe you got a card on the table, but how cool would it be to have like a Tom Brady signed Super Bowl football or a Tom Brady signed helmet right next to your desk as well?
Out of the blind wrap stuff, I did watch somebody open, I want to say it was like the silver I think it was the silver, maybe the gold. The silver is where it started. But some of the stuff that was being pulled out was insane. There was one item specifically that I was like, man, that'd be really cool to have. It was a one of those new style football helmets, right? And it was white, like a white matte finish, but it was a Bears helmet.
Okay.
So they actually do a lot of those like really cool like
Artsy pieces
signed by the 85 Bears.
Wow.
So and that was like in one of their lower tiered blind wrapped products. So I'm excited to get that stuff in. I opened up a Tom Brady box, did a little hit draft, got some good stuff. The Tom Brady stuff is most of it's all inscribed.
Either Hall of Fame or Super Bowl.
Hall of Fame, Super Bowl. Well, I don't think he can't say Hall of Fame yet. He's
he's
not in.
I was thinking Bears still.
I would say there's a pretty good chance Tom Brady makes it in, but you never know. Like, what if we find out he's betting on football? That's one way that we know. You can ask Pete Rose. It doesn't work.
Bet on himself.
Well, there's already one thing against him. More than one thing. Cameras, deflated footballs, whatnot. Anyway.
That's all Belichick's problem. No, I'm just kidding. Now, there was a big football game in Vegas, the first time the Raiders had a regular season game, and pretty much opened the stadium up to Las Vegas. We were fortunate enough to go, and we were sitting in a suite next to Dana White's suite, so it was a very cool experience for us. But I want to know what the experience was on TV. How was it watching the Monday Night Football game in the Vegas stadium?
That place looked rad. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. I don't use rad that much anymore, but that was the best way to describe that place.
It's actually only one of the 7 words I actually do use.
Yeah,
is rad.
But it's the best way to describe that place, which also looks so damn cool. Like I'm sure you guys were probably coming down the freeway towards the Strip, and you see that thing come out of nowhere. This just giant, like, black and silver, like a UFO landed there, and it looks so damn cool. It looks great inside. I'm jealous, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like I like Levi Stadium compared to most people, and I'm super jealous.
Yeah, I almost became a Raider fan. I almost switched that night because it was just such a. And it was the loudest place I'd ever been to.
First of all, wait a minute. First of all, how dare you? You almost switched that night.
It was so much fun.
You have to. You can basically.
I will not switch.
You can do. You can do what I do. You don't have to go crazy, but you can be like, the Raiders can be your AFC team.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far, but I mean, for that night, I was fully.
Oh, you wouldn't even go that far.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I will admit, I'm one of those guys that when it's the same thing when the Giants and the A's. I will root for the Giants first, but when the A's do well and the Giants aren't in it, I'll root for them. Same with the Raiders.
I'm the same way. I don't have it. There's no rivalry really between my team and the Raiders, unless you want to consider LA like a rivalry. They just have a lot of fans in LA, but. We're not in the same division. Yeah. We have no lineage besides we both were in LA for a very brief time together. So I don't know. I always root for them to win. And that stadium again, amazing. A lot of famous people just walking around. It seemed like Too Short and Ice Cube did the halftime show. We actually walked by Too Short. And I was like, I think that's too short.
Which was really cool on their part to represent the L.A. Raiders with Ice Cube, who had that iconic back in NWA days. It was always wearing the Los Angeles Raiders hat. And then you have Too Short, who represents the Oakland side of the Raiders. Thought it was very well thought out. And then, some stadiums where you're either getting like a DJ playing a song. They actually had a full cover band.
So why, if they're representing the Oakland side and the LA side, where was Wayne Newton to represent the Vegas side? Obviously, he fits right into that performance. It'd been great.
Just instead of blow the whistle, then all of a sudden Wayne Newton's in there.
Yeah, exactly. He spits a verse.
He's just
900-year-old Wayne Newton.
And I actually,
Ohtani and Marie Osmond.
The Osmonds with Ice Cube and Too Short. Sure, why not? Knock yourself out.
Getting back to the actual just decibel level of the fans in that place. And I've been to arenas before, but I've never seen a football game in a dome. I was going to say that too, me too. So that might have actually been why I was blown away. Because I remember it started, and I looked at Doug, and I'm like, dude, this is the loudest stadium I've ever been in.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because I've never seen a football game with that many people in a dome, and it just keeps the sound in, or it just was really that loud. Because you go to Levi, and Levi is like loud. You go to, I've been to the Oakland Coliseum to watch a football game. It's loud, but I think the noise just like
goes up out.
Travels out.
Yeah, and it's something because if you're at I've been to a loud Warrior game, but there's half the fans there, so you have double the amount of fans at the Raiders.
We were looking at probably 65,000 there, 70,000 maybe.
It was insane. It was insane.
Food was really good. Everything was really good, top notch. I actually was concerned that if we were going to have an issue getting in, because you needed to be vaccinated, you needed to have like this clear app. You put that many people in an area, you tend to lose cell phone service. Doug and I did, so I was like, I don't know if they're going to have Wi-Fi. They had Wi-Fi in the parking lot that you were able just to jump in.
It just changed everything.
And everything just started loading up, and I'm all, wow. I'm like, this is amazing. I'm like, I don't know if like that's the Wi-Fi that's just, they have a separate Wi-Fi for just a parking lot, or if this is the Wi-Fi that was actually in the stadium. If it was, we were probably a good solid 400 yards from the stadium at that point.
Yeah.
And we were able to get in with the Wi-Fi. The other thing is everything in Vegas looks really, really big. That doesn't necessarily mean it's walking distance, and I should know better.
Yeah, so our Uber driver said, you'll be able to get to it from the Park MGM. And now thinking back on it, I think he meant you probably should get a tram from the Park MGM. So we walked a mile in 140-degree heat.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so
I had a sports coat on.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yes. I refused to wear it because I knew it was going to. I wore pants, which was probably a bad decision.
And I went to Vegas. Yeah, I went to Vegas a couple years back when they were still building it, and that was the first thing across my mind. I went, it's the other side of the freeway from the Strip.
We were walking parallel at the freeway at one point, and I'm like, I don't know how we're going to get across this freeway.
Yeah.
And they do. If you basically keep on walking down, they do have like a catwalk that you basically walk over. But at one point I was like, I don't know if we're going to make it. And I was like booking it because I was like, I don't want to miss this game. We have a meeting with people we haven't met yet. Like, I don't want to show up like 20, 30 minutes late. So I was like really picking it up. These guys, I was like, come on, guys. Come on. Let's go.
Those Peloton works.
They're running out of real estate there. I know they're talking about baseball team there someday,
it's packed,
whoever it may be. But, they're running out of places. If you want to have it in the Strip, where I'm sure that's where they want it, at least in or around the Strip, it's going to be a little tough.
Well, and they have to close down streets. So, I mean, they already didn't have enough streets anyway. So then you close them down, you try to get 60,000 or whatever amount of people, 30, 40,000 people into an area at once. It's very tough. But let's get into talk about the Industry Summit, which you see on this first slide here. We were one of the 5 breakers that were honored for the 2021 Partners in Progress, which kind of stands for, progression in the industry, exactly what it is. And, we were honored to receive the award, us doing this for 10 years. We got it as breakers, which we were really thrilled to be with a group of guys that were kind of some of the original guys. So you can see on the slide, you got Chris Justice, you've got Rich Layton. Others that were honored that weren't there was Chad from Firehand and Brian Gavin from Ultimate Box Break. So those were the 5 breakers, us 5 breakers that were honored. And I really wish that they gave us all an opportunity to talk up there, and nobody took the opportunity. And I kind of really wish I would have stepped in and had a conversation and with everybody and saying, this is just more of, you guys, the breaker industry as a whole, that we may be getting the award, but without everybody else, that even the people that weren't up here, we wouldn't have been up there. So, I mean, we obviously did figure out some things for some people, but if those other breakers didn't find it a good idea to start breaking, there wouldn't have been even more customers coming into the hobby. So it really kind of, I wish they would have done like a award for just the category in general, as well. I mean, we were honored and flattered, and we're just doing what we love, and we had to come up with some of the things at the beginning on our own, but I think if the segment didn't grow, then we wouldn't have been up there. And I was like, that's what I was going to say. It was like, this is like an award for everybody that began breaking and decided to jump in the category.
Yeah, and I feel the same exact way. I mean, there's a lot of great breakers out there, and there's a lot of great breakers that, even though we've been doing it for so long, we've learned a lot of stuff from them as well. So, I mean, you couldn't really give everybody an award, but I could name off 20, 30, 40 breakers that were deserving to be up there with us as well. So, and a lot of people in the industry that helped us along the way, and really, like Tracy Hackler, for example, like he basically embraced group breaking at the beginning.
Yeah, and he's just he doesn't own Panini.
He doesn't own. He's
a marketing guy.
The marketing guy.
Yeah.
Right.
People are always like that Tracy Hackler not filling the redemptions. Just want to make that clear.
But yeah, I got to give him, distributors who stepped up, like Lloyd Key. He basically embraced group breaking as well. So like, there's a lot of industry people who helped grow the group breaking category that are not group breakers, who are very influential people in the industry. And that picture right there, I don't know who took it, but they made me look super tall. And like, dude, look.
I know.
I'm like me and Doug are the same height. Like,
yeah, you
and I'm like,
you had those 5-inch Griffey.
I might actually be about, I don't know, 9 to 10 inches taller than Rich Layton.
Very good use of a forced perspective.
Wow, like that. I mean,
very.
Whoever did, I did give him a $300 tip. I was like, thank you.
Well, my wife said, my wife saw the picture and she's like, why'd you wear that shirt? And I'm like, well, I do like Ken Griffey, and I thought it was a cool shirt. Maybe I'll say that I probably should have worn a polo, maybe, just have a little collar on the shirt. But I wore a baseballism Ken Griffey shirt up there, and yeah, it's forever immortalized. But, you can't go back in time. You can't change.
So, yeah, and I am wearing the Dan Anderson special. Yeah. I wear black T-shirts probably 95% of the time with jeans. So that's it.
You like go in your closet and there's like 75 black shirts and 75 blue pairs of pants?
I have way more than 75 black shirts.
You've got your closet set up like Steve Jobs did, where he just had like 3,700 turtlenecks and stuff. Yeah,
pretty much.
Same thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I respect it.
Yeah,
do all your cans have to be lined up too in your in your cabinet?
So this shirt, I'll wear this shirt on during the podcast, but I'll do like graphic tees, but it literally has to be like Panini.
Yeah.
And actually I wear Panini shirts very specifically because they have the best material. They actually make
our shirts have the same material.
Our shirts are the same, but like they make a really, really comfortable shirt. So I got to give them a lot of credit. And we actually use the same company. So
yeah, I mean the whole point. So I mean the national. See, I got confused. The summit is mostly all dealers coming there. There were some customers that are probably involved, a lot financially that want to hear about it too. But majority of it's card shops, breakers, other companies like Whatnot, Loop. They were there. Fanatics actually had a booth there. And I know the elephant in the room. You guys are wondering like, what's the Fanatics talk? Well, it really hasn't changed from what we've already talked about. I mean, there was some doom and gloom from some businesses out there, and then there was most of us that are kind of in the position like we have no idea. And then the actual elephant in the room, being Fanatics, they have no idea either, so they didn't really say anything either.
They did talk about the hobby shops being, and again, the lifeblood of this industry. So they basically see hobby shops as in the future going to be the place where they're going to be able to market their product and people are going to be able to buy them. Like they, again, couldn't say anything specific because they actually said the deal isn't completely finalized yet. It is not, there hasn't been signatures on everything. The deal is not 100% finalized. So they are just essentially waiting to release all the information. But they know what has transcended from a monetary standpoint this industry. They are not going to alienate those categories, shops, breakers, online e-commerce. They want to grow it. They don't want to destroy it. So
they wouldn't have spent all that money if they wanted.
Yeah,
to destroy it,
and talking to manufacturers who were there, Panini was well represented. They basically bring a majority of their crew down. Topps has their own conference, so they do their own thing. Upper Deck has their own conference. They do their own thing, so they don't usually show up at the Beckett Industry Summit. But Topps was represented.
Topps had at least one person there.
Topps had one person.
I think kind of showed some unity. I think in prior years, unless I just didn't see them, they kind of stayed away because that wasn't their event. But I think now it's like, hey, we're all kind of wondering the same thing. We should be here to represent as well. I did want to talk about this before we get off the topic and talk about some other things because we still have a lot of topics to go through. Is the Global Collectibles Expo was announced, and the guy was on stage. He also had a booth there, and I am super excited for this. So this is, probably going to be the closest thing to a, West Coast National. I know you guys on the East Coast are like, I'm not going to travel that far. It is in Vegas. It's a reason to go out to the West here. It's going to be at the Mandalay Bay rather than a dumpy expo center. And I'm not ripping on the National, but the East Coast areas.
You mean the Summit? Or no, the National. Because you're talking. So yeah, the National. If you don't know the National, every other year they do Chicago. But the IX Center in Cleveland reopened. So they will be probably going back to Cleveland and then Atlantic City. And those are the 3 cities that they rotate every other year. So it'll go Chicago, Cleveland, Chicago, Atlantic City, Chicago. So yeah, go ahead. Keep on.
Yeah,
I'm sorry I cut you off, but I just want to explain.
I don't know how much I could share from what he was talking to me about, but this thing is the future. It's not going to be like the National has literally been the same thing for the beginning. It's the tables, the dealers and the tables, the boxes and the wax, the Breaker Pavilion with just enough internet to get through. This guy is making this the most tech way as possible, where I think guys that are set up in booths will have an opportunity to put their stuff online as well for the show specifically. So it's just kind of moving forward, bringing in the newest tech and making the show, more modern than the show. I mean, there's not a lot wrong with the show and the National, but like this is going to be something different. This is going to be an experience that I don't think people are going to really realize how cool and how much easier it's going to be. We're talking maybe like digital business cards, right? Instead of having to like sign people up on an iPad or something, maybe every badge has a way to just transfer information for giveaways. Like every kind of idea has been thought about. They're going to be, I believe they're going to be bringing in some like athletes via hologram.
Yeah.
So that some athlete could be at his home and he's in this thing and then he's on stage at the Global Expos. Collectibles Expo.
I wasn't sure if you were going to be able to bring that up or not.
I don't know. I mean, I didn't sign an NDA or anything, so
that blew me away because they're like, okay, the personalities we're going to bring in, we have like this hologram setup where they basically are going to be able to pipe in whatever celebrity they want as a hologram to basically live stream and interact with people.
I don't know if that's going to be cheesy or it's going to be awesome. I have a feeling it won't be in the middle. It'll be one or the other. The general feeling.
Certainly we'll never forget it. That's for sure.
Dude, let's try the hologram. Why not? It's going.
And if you're the athlete and you're like, here, we'll give you $1,000, whatever it is. I don't know the going rate for something like that. It's like, we'll give you $1,000. You just got to go into this little thing for like 20 minutes, and then you don't even have to go home. You just go right back with your kids.
This is literally they have tapped into what the future of going to stuff like this is going to be, which is maybe a good or a bad thing. You maybe never have now more athletes are going to go, wait a minute, I could just be a hologram. I don't have to actually be there.
I'll get a picture with a hologram.
Yeah, fine, great, sounds good.
You don't have to worry about 6 feet apart.
But unfortunately, there's also that. It's also COVID anyway, friendly. Tried to avoid saying
the
it.
P word,
got to a word.
I think if you said friendly, I don't think they block it.
No, yeah, we're fine there. But the downside though to me is that maybe for something like the National 5 years down the road, some athletes are like, nah, I'm just gonna show up as a hologram. I don't want to show up in person, do autographs.
Exactly.
I'll just do $100 pictures with my hologram versus $250 for my autograph.
But why wouldn't you be able to do an autograph signing at your house? Do 8x10s.
That's true.
You have a representative from TriStar or maybe Panini or somebody, and
guaranteed it's going to get sent out to you.
You basically put that hologram on there. And you could basically authenticate.
That's true, and then it just gets sent to your house.
And then you don't have to carry it around.
Well, you know what it's gonna be. It's gonna be, hey, I'm Patrick Mahomes. Here's my new NFTs and my hologram setup.
Yes.
That's what's gonna happen.
That might happen too. Very, very much so. But I'm excited, and Chicago's great. I love Chicago. Still limited in what you can do and what kind of food you can get and what kind of things you can do outside. I mean, if you're in Vegas, you have no problem getting food. You have no problem going to see a band play. You have no problem gambling. I just feel like it's
You
just
should.
a better. I mean, well, yeah,
I
you
went-
have no
I
problem
went-
if that's what you want to do. Is what
I
I'm
went
saying.
0-6 on my bets on Sunday, my football bets. I mean, and Doug, what did you do?
I like 0-8. Yeah,
Yeah, wait, between the two of us, you could try to
I bet the
that.
Packers.
You could try to bet that bad, and you can be like, I want to pick every possible loser I can, and you'll never be able to do it.
But I did put money on the Raiders on Monday night.
So did I. It's the only one I won.
I do just want to mention, I just realized the dates, March 10th through the 13th. Do we know when the NCAA basketball tournament begins? Because, that is one of the craziest weekends to be in Vegas. And if you have this at least coinciding with some of the conference tournaments,
Got to book.
man.
Got to book the rooms now.
You got to book.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Get in now.
Hold
This
on,
could
I'll
be
stop
crazy.
the show. No, I wanted to touch on this briefly, and I think so. We're moving on to the next topic, but I'm excited for the Vegas convention. First college player cards revealed. As you can see here, we got a Spencer Rattler and a Bryce Young. Onyx Vintage going with that NIL. So guys that are still playing in college. It's still kind of hard for me to see this, and I have a lot of questions, and I want to start off with the first one. Do these ever reach the status of a rookie card, like a college card? Maybe so far be and maybe it's not necessarily Onyx Vintage, but like maybe if Panini comes out with this product or Fanatics in a couple of years, I don't know. If they come out, or Leaf, of course, like where would this like be? And also, how many years of their cards are they going to make?
I think it'll be very similar to the market on the collegiate products. It is the collegiate products are the ones you want because it's the only thing you can get until they start having they're in their NFL unis. These will never surpass the NFL, like represented in their NFL.
It
uniform.
never will, but you have some time if you're like a flipper, right? Like, you know, and I don't watch a whole lot of college football. I'm going to start watching college football. I always worked on Saturday at my prior job, and I never was able to watch college. So it's just not become my routine. But I'm like, if you get a guy that's like, let's say Trey Lance, but they have Trey Lance signed before he plays, you're able to get the auto for $2. And then before he's drafted, you've got to have a card that's gone up in money, right? You've got to have, if a guy is that 17-0 like Trey Lance was.
I don't think it's ever going to become like a prospect card though. It's not going to become
not long term, but maybe before his pro cards come out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to be able to flip, week in and week out. You'll be able to flip a card here, flip a card there, maybe hold on to it when the Heisman has a little you can do a little flip there because the next year they're probably going to have a full run of more cards unless they're like a junior or a senior, they decide to get
right.
drafted.
And do they start? And maybe Cody. It's obviously we're all speculating here, but like, if they make it his first year and then he goes to 4 years, is it is the first one better than the fourth one?
I would think so. Yeah, I think especially if they start to have a nice college career and go the full 4. I will say, honestly, props to Onyx being like first on this to kind of to stake their claim. And in a few months, maybe Panini comes out with something where obviously that will take over. But hey, at least they're first in the game, so they'll at least have a first couple of months to build something
Smart
up.
move by them because obviously they're lower on the totem pole and they're like, let's get this going.
But I think that. What you could see is, it's going to be the short flip game, I think, is the way that the college stuff is going to make its mark. Is going to be for some reason the guy who came to my mind because as you said, I was doing a lot of stuff on Saturdays during college football for the high school college years, but Ken Dorsey, a guy that didn't have an NFL career, but imagine you got a Ken Dorsey autograph and then he goes and has his career in Miami. You go, cool, I'm going to flip it right before the national championship game. And you probably can make yourself some good money and probably more than you would ever make on a Ken Dorsey card when you get to the NFL.
Yeah, I think it would be a short play on pretty much all of them. But like you're saying, there's going to be substantial money that you can probably make.
Or let's look at it this way. Jameis Winston, which we're going to talk about coming up as well. Was he in college? I'm sure he was in college 2011, 2012? So say you got let's just say that Onyx or this NIL was around then. You could basically have bought a Jameis Winston in 2012 and then kind of gave up on him, right? And now you're like, he just threw 5 touchdowns for the Saints. I've got this card from 8 years ago. So it's like you've kind of extended maybe a collectability of a guy.
You've kind of seen this in baseball, though. You've seen the international prospects signed super young. You've seen USA Baseball, the 18 and under. I think they actually have 15 and under. And some of those players, actually, you can go back and you can see that they actually been drafted or currently in the minors, or there's a couple guys that come to mind that I know had cards for a long, long, long time. Maybe Carlos Correa.
Yeah, Bubba Starling.
Yeah.
Bubba Starling obviously didn't pan out, but he had cards in 2011, and he's a rookie, I think, last year.
Yeah.
So it was like an 8-year
But I'm talking about USA, like Alex Bregman, I think, had a USA.
Yeah.
But I'm like trying to think of like players that like may have had like a 15 and under card. I know there's a lot of players.
Corey
that
Seager had one.
Corey Seager.
Yep.
Corey Seager. Absolutely. Yeah.
I think I have one somewhere.
So, but you look at the market on those cards, and just because it was signed when they were 16, 17 years old doesn't make it any more valuable than their first Bowman.
Yeah.
So I think the first Bowman, the first rookie card, the Prism Silvers, all that stuff is still going to be king. But like you guys were saying, I think there is an opportunity for a quick flip on a lot of these players.
Yep, absolutely. And I think we do have a winner from last week's giveaway, and we're going to have a giveaway coming up regarding Optic basketball. But I think Cody's got the winner.
Yep, $150 of group break credit. We asked you guys which wide receivers are you investing in. David May is our winner. David, congratulations.
Congrats, David.
Yeah.
Who do you put down?
Chase Claypool, and I want to say it was Justin Jefferson.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I wanted to get into some Optic basketball, which is releasing Friday, and it's one of the pivotal releases for the basketball rookie class. And that's going to be available at Mojobreak.com. We're doing 6-box breaks. We'll probably be doing some mixers. We're going to do some 1-box breaks, either PYT, random. There should be something for you to get in over the weekend with Optic. And it's a celebration. It's shiny. I wish C-Rad was here. We have a filming day that's different than our normal day, but C-Rad would tell you how excited he is for Optic because he is the Optic king around here. So, but, you got that the hobby, you got the color, you got the velocities, and the hollows is kind of the key card, the non-autographed hollows. And some will say sometimes they're harder and more rare to get than some of the Prism Silvers. You have your Optic fans, you have your Select fans, but I wanted to go over some pricing that's kind of crazy from some of the guys that have came out in prior years. And you've got Zion from last year, which was his hollow goes for $1,650, and Luka's is the highest at $5,995 for an Optic hollow Luka. You've got Jason Tatum that's at $915. You've got John Morant that's at $736. Trae Young, $1,400, so he's climbed up over the years. And I thought this was interesting. The cheapest guy over the last 4 years is Donovan Mitchell, which I think might be one of the more electric guys out of all of them. I mean, obviously Luka's the unicorn, but Donovan Mitchell, why does this guy not get some love in the hobby for some of his cards? I mean, people are paying. You can get 4 or 3 Donovan Mitchells for 1 Zion, or you could get 10 Donovan Mitchells for 1 Luka. I think that's crazy.
I mean, the only thing I can say is maybe Utah.
It's 100% Utah. It's the only thing to describe it.
So you put him on the Knicks?
Yes, 100%. 100%. If he was on the Knicks, he would be selling as well, probably maybe not Trae levels, but probably around Tatum or just above.
So the Hawks are a more vaulted franchise in the hobby, you think?
Just a better, like Atlanta is a better market for basketball for me. Utah Utah has this reputation, and sorry to anyone from Utah, but the Utah Jazz have a reputation of being kind of like the team for squares, the team, it's John Stockton. It's, even Karl Malone. Like, these guys were not perceived. Like, remember the All-Star draft they did where literally Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell were the last 2. And I think even LeBron said, no one picked them in NBA Jam when you were growing up, even though they were a good team. Like, they have a reputation, and it's probably not fair.
I picked them in NBA Jam. Karl Malone and John Stockton were that was pretty much the team.
You should have. You should have picked them. They had 2.
Who else they had? They had Hornacek. And you can go him and Stockton just shoot threes nonstop. And then who was the big guy? They had a center. Ostertag.
Yep.
We got C-Ride back in the building. He's here. Yes, he made it through the Raider game. How great was that game for you being a fan for life?
Bro, probably the most amazing experience I've ever been a part of. Like, just christening that stadium, being there for the first game, and getting to see a game like that was pretty incredible.
You were I was using the example when I was telling my wife that you were like an emoji all. It was just like sad, happy, crying, happy, sad,
Pretty much.
excited.
I just imagine you guys have all seen that game, so usually in those type of games, you know how it's gonna end based on the amount of mistakes that the other team makes, right? Like, they didn't get the initial touchdown. They threw a pick in the end zone. That game should have been over for the Ravens. They should have drove, down the other side and kicked the field goal and won the game. But, fate had other plans. And
Who, since I was there, who forced the fumble? Was it Crosby or was it who forced at the end of the game? Who forced Lamar?
I rewatched the highlights too. I'm not sure if it was Crosby, but Crosby was giving them hell all night. I mean, Ravens have I think is it the right tackle, like they're on their third or fourth string.
Yeah.
So they're having issues blocking over there, and that's partly of the part of the success that the defensive line had for the Raiders. But I didn't see who actually knocked the ball out. I was just glad it happened.
Yeah, it was definitely hard to have conversations at that stadium, like we talked about earlier with the noise. I think that's partly why my voice is still recovering.
Yeah, me too.
Dan, what did you think?
Man, the game was it was the best football game I've ever been to. Not because we had good seats, we were in a suite that was all inclusive and all that good stuff, but
Helps.
when we were sitting next to Dana White. Not because of that, because of the back and forth quality of the game. It did not disappoint from you couldn't have asked for a better Monday night game to start the season. That was actually by far the best game that I've seen from Thursday to Monday.
Yeah.
There was a lot of really bad Sunday games.
There was, and that's a great transition because you can see on here some of the players that we have breakouts, and I wanted to talk about that Bengal game that did go all the way down to the wire, right? It was I think it was the first game in the overtime era where somebody scored a point with no time left, which is you thought that would happen. That's already happened, but apparently it hasn't. So the Bengals won. Jamar Chase, we went from talking about him not being able to see the ball in the air to him having 100 yards and being BFFs with Joe Burrow. So you can see some of the prices here on his recent RPA rookie 3-color patch auto, $302 on a patch auto that recently sold. Do you think that's too high or do you think that's too low? And I'll let whoever wants to take that go with that one.
How much?
302 for an RPA number to 50 out of black, which is probably the hottest new product besides Donruss.
That might be a little low. That might be a little low right now. He looked really good. There's no doubt that dude is explosive. He can run routes. And talking about those drops, I didn't see a lot of drops. So
No.
I believe he had 0 on Sunday.
Yeah, Joey B's got a weapon. So, and I think them playing in college together definitely has something to do with he just knows. Think about how many practices they've had together. So he knows where he's going to be.
Well, and if I correct me if I'm wrong here, Cody, didn't all 3 wide receivers get touchdowns, and all 3 wide receivers had played with their current quarterbacks in college, right?
I believe so. I want to say Waddle had one in the Miami game, and then obviously we don't have him on the list, but I think we put out a poll on our Mojobreak Media Twitter saying which guy improved their stock the most in the hobby, and Jalen Hurts kind of ran away with it. Jalen Hurts had a great game against Atlanta. Devontae Smith had his first touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And our Niners are going into Philly this weekend, and I still feel confident because I think Philadelphia going against Atlanta might be a bit of a punching bag this year for a lot of teams. But that's a good team, and I think Jalen Hurts, there were some whispers of is he even the guy? You heard the Deshaun Watson rumors coming out as well. And I think he kind of put all that to bed. I think he's the real deal there, and having Devontae Smith, a guy he's familiar with. I think of the guys that we saw over the weekend, he was definitely the guy. That connection was the most impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the size, and I don't think anybody coming into that game, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think anybody had any chance the Bengals were going to beat the Vikings.
Yeah, I mean,
nope.
I don't think the odds were quite because obviously we were in Vegas, so you're looking at the money line and all that good stuff. I think one of the worst money lines was the Niners-Lions game.
That's such a bad beat.
Don't know what happened. You go to the restroom, you come back to the sports book, and it was Jared Goff had scored 3 touchdowns and like 3 2-point conversions in
minutes.
like a span of 2 minutes. I was like, an onside kick. They had an onside kick. Kittle basically took the onside kick off his head. I'm like, they got within 25 yards and a 2-point conversion from bringing that game into overtime. If that does happen and the Niners lose, is it Trey Lance next week? Even though that game had nothing to do with Jimmy Garoppolo.
No, Garoppolo actually had the highest efficiency. It was so funny going into the game. You talk about how bad Garoppolo was on big plays, and he had the highest efficiency over the weekend out of all quarterbacks on big plays. So it was incredible. I mean, I don't know if having Lance go in there and having that guy on basically behind him on his shoulder saying, "I'm gonna play if you're bad." Maybe that's what Jimmy needed.
I was telling Doug when we were leaving the sports book, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, you're going to look back at that and you're going to say, the Niners only won by 8. That game wasn't even close. No. I mean, it was a blowout. I mean, I was like, Jared Goff may not be the quarterback next week for the Lions. He was doing Jared Goff things.
Yeah.
But, man.
And I know you texted me during that game because you were like, wow, Trey Lance, it was kind of cool having that switch off. I mean,
and I was saying Lions, I bet that game. I knew that the Lions were in for a long day. But, sometimes in sports and sports betting, you can't predict 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was insane.
And 2 2-point conversions and an onside recovery. Like, you literally can't cap that. You can't predict that.
I can't believe they actually kicked it and they went after George Kittle. Like, that'd be the one guy on the hands team. I'd be like, get it away from that guy.
Yeah.
And he probably was like thinking the same exact thing. He's like, oh, it's coming right at me.
Right. Right. And then you go on the flip side of the ball. We're talking about the Lions, and we've got Deebo Samuel, a recent Optic contender. We're talking about receiver. I figured we'll go to him next, and then we'll go to the former Lion as well coming up. It's Optic contenders Deebo. Granted, it is that SGC, but 199 recently. So, I mean, ahead at almost 200 yards, seems to be the number 1 in San Francisco, even though it's Kyle Shanahan is almost similar to Bill Belichick, where there might be a new hero every week on the terms of either a running back, a tight end, or a receiver. But do you think that's undervalued? 199 for a Contenders Optic rookie of Deebo. Is that a buy?
I think that's a buy. When you compare him to the other guys on this picture, right? Like, I think it's a pretty good deal.
What do you think, Cody?
Deebo a buy? I don't know. I'm also kind of like weary on receivers and running backs in general. I was super impressed by him, other than the one fumble there at the end of the game. I kind of have to take that into consideration, but damn, he's the number 1 guy. There's no doubt about it. He is definitely, especially with all the weirdness going on with Brandon Ayuk, which I don't know. That is something I do not get at all. Like, what did he do to Kyle Shanahan?
Whatever he did, he didn't start the game. It was all indications are he's not gonna get playing time right now. Sherfield?
Yeah, Sherfield had a great
he has lost
season.
his spot. Like, he's probably the 4th guy now.
I don't know. I mean, and we're talking like a first rounder last year.
Yeah,
and
he performed well.
And he led the team in receiving yards.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened, but did he come to camp out of shape? Like,
I don't know, and I think it's a trait
routes
that maybe Kyle got from his dad, where like he will like pick and choose guys and pick favorites, and one guy he's gonna hand, especially with running backs, but now we're talking receivers, but one guy he's handing the ball off to in week 1 through 5, and suddenly that guy is on a milk carton and he is just missing. Like, he's missing in action.
I think the Niners started. I think they started Elijah Mitchell. I know.
Trey Sermon didn't even suit up.
I know.
What happened with? Is he hurt?
We don't know.
I don't know. He might be hanging out with Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah, clearly.
I actually read something today that like it seemed like it was kind of connected. It was like, you guys aren't going to buy into like whatever system I'm trying to say or whatever I'm trying to do. Like, those guys, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but he isn't hurt. I think he was a little banged up, but not to the point where he wasn't going to be playing. But yeah, Elijah Mitchell, I think, started.
Yep.
And
Who
most-
nobody
yeah.
predicted.
And I think it speaks to not just obviously like we're playing, I think like if you're playing like fantasy, there's volatility, but like this is really just shows to me the volatility of like collecting a receiver and a running back, because you're thinking, oh, Ayuk, this guy's gonna break out this year. I'm collecting Trey Sermon. I think he's a sleeper, and then suddenly it's Elijah Mitchell. It's the other rookie running back.
Or
and suddenly Brandon Ayuk's off the face of the earth. So it's very weird, and that's why. Even with a big week from Debo, I still need like a lot more time.
And I think it's Shanahan's an above the shoulders type of coach.
Oh, taking Sean McVay's
And
phrase there.
and he basically is going to pick the weakness. I'm sure he studied the Lions defense for a while and figured out that there was some kind of weakness in the middle of the field there, I believe, because a lot of the routes that Debo was getting was right through the middle. There was a few long plays, but I think he was utilizing the middle of the field. And the Eagles may have a strong, linebacker or whatever who's going to cover Debo or a cornerback, and you may see Ayuk be used this week. So, yeah, I don't think I would be buying Debo, but it is intriguing when you start seeing Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf prices, and these guys seem like they're cheap. So it's tough. I mean, is that what you're seeing, C-Red?
Yep, because DK's prices are so crazy, and Jefferson is like $199 for Debo, man. That probably gonna be one of the better teams in the NFL all season. So might be an opportunity there.
I'd be a little concerned with getting back to Sermon. The Niners, the first thing they did this week was sign Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, good. I mean, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. I would be concerned if I'm collecting Sermon, where you just went out and signed another running back and you didn't even get a snap. So, man, like, what? I mean, was that not like a John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan pick? Was that somebody who stepped in and it was like
bad at practice?
Was that somebody who stepped in? And we're like, we need to get this guy, and they're like, well, we're gonna show you how great he is by not playing him.
Now, is Dre Kirk? I know they signed Dre Kirkpatrick as well. Is he a former Lion as well?
Bengal.
But I think he might. I know he was a former Bengal, but I feel like he played for the Lions. I feel like we went to Detroit and we're like, we got guys over there not playing. Well, go ahead and put them on our roster.
Well,
They're in town.
They got a handful of them.
It seems like it. So now let's talk about Matt Stafford, who I don't think was on a lot of people's radars. A lot of people were even saying that the Lions and Rams basically just flip-flopped on quarterbacks, that you got the same guy, just one's a little older. Stafford, I think, went to one playoff game and lost, so it wasn't a guy that won, where Goff was a guy that went to a Super Bowl. So it was kind of crazy, but then you see it play out, and as much as I want to bash on the Rams and I want to bash on Stafford because I'm a Niner fan, I was just floored by how well this guy was just making throws. I mean, he was just... Yeah, he had Kupp, he had Woods, he had all these guys wide open. Jefferson had a game. I mean, I think at one point
Higbee had a game.
It's incredible. And then I think his career, which I didn't realize, his career completion percentage, I think is like 65%. So
Elite quarterback.
So maybe it was Detroit after all these years and not him.
He was slanging it out, and he was 20 for 26. And usually when you see like a 20 for 26, it's a lot of like slant passes, a lot of dump off passes, a lot of screens, like a lot of high percentage throws. He was throwing the ball 40, 50 yards down the field. Granted, there was one Cooper Kupp touchdown where there was not a defender within 20 yards of him. He just literally waited. It looked like he was receiving a punt, and there was nobody near him. And then he just walked into the end zone.
Bad.
I haven't seen
That was bad.
I haven't seen a Rams offense air it out like that since like the Kurt Warner days.
Yeah.
The greatest show on turf.
Is that what you seen with Stafford too?
Dude, yeah, like when the trade happened, I obviously texted in our group chat. I was like, because I've seen Stafford operate at such a high level at quarterback for the Lions, but obviously never having gone that far in the playoffs and really winning. He wasn't the winningest quarterback in Detroit, but him playing, I could, he
actually might be the winningest quarterback in Detroit, sadly.
Oh yeah, well, if you compare it to compared to other teams, I meant.
Yeah, but not. Yeah, definitely not in the division. But
yeah, but when I was excited for Rams fans when they got him, because I look at Goff and like we all know the weaknesses of Jared Goff. I feel like he definitely his team compensated for where he was lacking, and Stafford brought everything that he didn't have, which I thought was going to happen, and it did. So,
Which he's 3 years younger than his head coach, so it's almost like they're just best friends.
But you look, and if you watched the game, they look like they were best friends. I've never seen Sean McVay run up to Jared Goff and just give him a hug. Like, I've seen quite the opposite, where like Jared Goff is like 20 yards down on the other sideline, just like, and McVay is like looking at him like, what are you doing? Like, what was that? Stafford gets a touchdown, and McVay's just running out there and doing like chest bumps with him, like celebrating in the end zone. He's just he's very happy. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see. The Rams looked good. Their defense looked good. That game, at one point, was a 1-touchdown game. The Bears hung in there. They really didn't look that bad. I think they would have been better if they would have just put in Justin Fields. Andy Dalton is just gonna be good enough to keep you in the game, but he's not gonna win many games for you.
And a lot of people don't like Nagy over there. A lot of rumblings from Bears fans. I don't watch too many Bears games, but I watched that game. I put money on the Bears because they were plus 350, which I might as well have just burned my money and thrown it in the garbage.
God, you should have told me that. I would have been like, "Don't do it, guys. Please don't do it."
Well, it was like the last game, and that was I wanted to triple my money if it happened.
It
right?
was a 6-point game for like 3 quarters.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean,
it wasn't as bad.
It was 1 touchdown away. It's just, it didn't look very good because the Rams just kind of got their Madden on and just started running up the score at the end.
Well, and isn't it kind of, this might be one of the very few times that all 4 of us here that are part of this show had a win in a week.
I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't think it's ever. And to throw that on there, Ice Cube, West Side Connection, the AFC West, NFC West, all wins, which is incredible. So 8 wins between the four teams in each one of those divisions.
And I know I think the Rams play the Cardinals week 4. I know we don't play an NFC team this week. I don't know if any of us play NFC teams until
we play
4.
the Eagles this week.
Yeah, no. I mean
Each other.
NFC West.
Yeah.
Divisional.
Yeah, I don't think I think the first week might be week 4. So we may all be going into that game like the first month. We may be 3-0.
It's crazy.
There might not be a team that's lost in that division. Now, NFC West looks really, really good. I think we were all saying they were going to look really good.
Too good. God damn.
So
that's crazy. So the AFC. I mean, really. But back to Stafford. So 2009 was his rookie year, which seems like ages ago. It was not very often we talk about guys that possibly might be going up, and their rookie cards were before we started breaking. So 2009 contenders recently sold for, and that was September 13th. So that was actually the day of the game, I believe.
Yeah, I couldn't find anything that was, day after.
The day after the game. That was on your birthday.
Yeah.
And $4,000 for a PSA 10 Stafford. Wow. But you got to think that there's probably, without looking at the official numbers, there's maybe a third of those compared to, like, say, a Dak or they just didn't make as much back then. And Panini didn't own Playoff. It was owned by Donruss Playoff at the time. So, do you think 4,000? I mean, being that he's probably in the conversation of top 5 teams right now, do you think that's cheap? I mean, I'll start with the homer.
I made the purchase. I bought a Topps Chrome rookie auto of Matt Stafford at the show on Saturday for $600.
Nice. I like that.
So that is like looking at
another low pop card.
Looking at that contenders, I'm like, yeah, I did pretty good. Did I do good?
Did I do good?
Did I do good?
Yeah, I like it. I like that.
But you look at Stafford, and it's difficult because how many years does he really have, right? Like, could he perform at an MVP caliber level for the next 3 years? He's not a player who is like Kyler Murray or even Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow, who like they basically are just getting their career started.
Right.
Stafford, Father Time has to catch up at some point. I mean, he's not super old, but not many players named Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers like really extend their prime into like their mid to late 30s.
Right.
So could he go on? I mean, I think this would be a short flip, right? I think this would be a year where you would buy it, and if they win the Super Bowl, you sell it, you move on.
I gotta think he's pretty close though in all-time yards. Like, obviously not real close to Breeze and Brady at this point. And I didn't look at this before we started the show, but I would say he's got to be in the top 20 of all time in yards at this point. So if he gets a Super Bowl under his belt and plays another 6 years and throws the 4,000 to 5,000 yards a year that he's been on the pace with, I mean, the guy's always played. That was one thing about Stafford compared to like some other guys is that, yeah, they didn't win playoff games, but he literally played. There was a game, I think, where he like literally collarbone fell out and then he was back in 2 minutes later.
I get it, but you're asking for a guy in the back nine of his career to do the same thing that he was doing at the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Regardless of the team that he's on. I don't know. I think Stafford can perform at a really good level for 3 years. I think after that it would be tough. I don't know about the whole yardage thing, and he would have to win a Super Bowl or two to get into that conversation of being like an Aaron Rodgers, a John Elway, Montana, Brady, like type of like upper echelon top 10 of all time.
Yeah, I think one Super Bowl will do that for him. Because at the end of his career, I do think his stats will stand up against the other greats quarterbacks in the league. So I think one Super Bowl, he'll be at least not among them maybe, but in the conversation.
Can we see where he's at yardage-wise?
I think that Super Bowl would have meant more for his hobby market if it was earlier in his career and on the Lions, because you're going to have those people who are like, yeah, but he had to go to the Rams to get a Super Bowl. Like, John Elway did it late in his career with the team that drafted him.
Well, couldn't you say that about Drew Brees too, though? And I don't think anyone's questioning his place among
But Drew Brees,
greats.
I think he wanted to stay in the Chargers. The Chargers were like, we got Phillip Rivers. We don't actually believe you're going to be healthy enough. See you later.
Yeah. But, I mean, even still, and I know there's also other things with Drew Brees, obviously, coming back after Hurricane Katrina and what he meant to that city, what that team meant to that city. I think that adds a lot to it. But I think that's a case of a guy who leaves and then gets better. And I want to say probably close to the same age that Stafford moves over to a new team, maybe a little younger.
Maybe a little younger. I think he was just getting through his rookie contract. So I think he was maybe 3 to 4 years in the league, where Stafford a decade, right? Close to it.
Yeah. By the way, Stafford 16th on the all-time list, just ahead of Drew Bledsoe, and he will definitely pass Vinny Testaverde on the all-time.
And then how far is he from cracking the top, say 5?
He's got 45,430 yards right now. If he wanted to get to the top 5, he would need to throw for about 20,000 more yards.
So seven or 8 years, if possible. I mean, he'd have to play into the Tom Brady stages of his life. Yeah. So
but if he gets to the top 12, you're looking at guys like Fran Tarkenton, Warren Moon, Aaron Rodgers, John Elway, Matt Ryan, Eli Manning.
Chance to get there, dude.
Yeah.
All right, and we showed our love here for Mr. Stafford, which I'm sure Dan's excited to see what he does for the year. But a guy that probably has never been done before. 5 touchdowns with only 150 yards, Jameis Winston, which nobody had. Another bet I lost in Vegas. I had the Packers, and I thought that was for sure lock. I almost might have done a Survivor League on that, and I'm sure there was a lot of folks that did. And just not thinking that Jameis Winston, maybe the laser surgery did fix his ability to see the right team, because he did very well. And do we think there's any growth? We're showing a 2015 National Treasures book, which has an amazing patch here, that recently sold for $995. Props to the guys that sat on Jameis Winston and did not just get rid of him in dollar bins. Man, did you see this coming, Dan?
Well, absolutely.
You have been mentioning
because I have been. You can go through the archives, and Jameis has been my guy, and I felt that he had been undervalued for a long time, and there was going to be a matter of time, and he couldn't have went into a better system with Sean Payton, and he was able to kind of sit behind, back up Drew Brees, really learn that system, and I think he is going to have the best year of his career, and they may be a playoff team, and I would not want to play the Saints in the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the 2015 season has been known as the Sean Mannion of all cards, and now we're actually talking about Jameis Winston again. So we're eating the W's. We're eating the W's. And 2015, you got to be able to get for relatively cheap compared to all the other years past it.
Well,
so,
last week you could.
yeah, now it's up. Now everybody's back.
No,
on
and
that
then
train.
you look at. I actually think Mariota now is also a good buy. Now, Mariota, he's got talent. I believe that, like, if Derek Carr does go out, he gets injured or anything like that, I don't know if there's a huge drop-off between Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota. I actually was saying at the game that I think the Raiders have the best backup quarterback in the league.
I can't dispute that. I'm actually a fan now. I'm more of a fan now than when he had all that pressure in Tennessee, because there's that game, if you remember last year, that he came in and he looked really good, but the Raiders did Raider things and lost that game that he played. He had that big run at the beginning of the game, and I felt like, you know what Derek Carr's crutch is it almost reminds me of a lot of Alex Smith early in his career, where he just holds onto the ball for way too long, and it's not really mobile. So, you know, obviously they got to win, and Derek Carr is going to continue to be the starter. But you know, you may not count out Mr. Marcus Mariota, who's got a famous college career too. So,
yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say it's going to be like a Jameis Winston prediction. I'm not going to do that. But if you're looking for 2015 stuff, and you don't be bummed if you get like a Mariota like RPA or something like that. It's good. I mean, besides Sean Mannion, there's some good players in that draft.
that there is. What did you see, Cody, with Jameis? Are you buying his cards at this point, or are you unloading with the one game?
I don't know if I'd unload, because I think he is gonna. I think the thing that became really evident is that he fits. That he is going to do well in that system. Sean Payton has built a nice system there that guys like him that clearly he's. I mean, if you had told me a year ago there's going to be a QB in week 1, he's got 5 touchdowns, he's going to have 100. What? Do you have under 150?
It was like 158.
At 158, and I think one of the touchdowns
50 yards.
was a 50-yard touchdown.
Literally, if you told me, guess which of the 32 quarterbacks is going to do that? Number 32 on my list is Jameis Winston.
Yes.
That is the most un-Jameis Winston-like box score I've ever seen. So the fact that he did that against a Packers team that I don't know what happened there, that is the most bizarre performance I've ever seen. And also the Saints are playing in Jacksonville for a weird home game because of the hurricane. So all of these things stacking up against him, and he goes out and has the most efficient game of his career. But also at the same time, I don't know if he's going to be capable of putting up huge numbers, because I think he is sort of being reined in a little bit. But at the same time, if the Saints go far, it's going to be because he's going to be the face of the team. And I think that bodes well for collectors if you have been hanging on to him. So I think I might hang on to him a little bit longer if the Saints do indeed make the playoffs.
Makes sense, and Aaron, that's what I was trying to find excuses for Aaron Rodgers for that game, and we've obviously been big proponents to Aaron Rodgers, and we just had a show where I think he was ranked number 1, and we kind of look like we're eating some crow a little bit. The
man's still going to Canton.
The guy's still, yeah,
let's be honest.
Absolutely. It almost, there's a moment where I thought maybe he was playing to not be on the Packers anymore, and then I'm like, well, maybe. New surroundings for the Saints too, but you're talking about a guy that's played since 2005. Used to every single stadium, every single travel pattern. Maybe that was thrown off. Maybe the hair. I just couldn't figure out why Aaron Rodgers was so bad. So hopefully this week they get back on track, because I love watching Aaron Rodgers sling it, and love watching close games with Green Bay involved, not games that are like, what was it, 38-3? It was incredible.
38-3. There's
worst
a lot
blowout of his career.
There's a lot of fantasy owners who drafted Aaron Rodgers really high.
Yeah.
And they're scouring that wire right now, looking for somebody they may have to plug in there.
Yep. I'm talking about a guy that probably had a career game, Kyler Murray. And if you guys are fans of the podcast, Adam Martin at the National asked us what year of product do we feel like is undervalued, and we said the 2019. Because everybody had moved on to the 2020 with Herbert and Burrow and all those guys, where you had Murray, who had a great season last year, just not the last 8 weeks were kind of bad. The first 8 weeks were incredible. And then you have Daniel Jones, who might do something. So I felt, and DK Metcalf, who sells well. So I felt like the 2019 draft was super undervalued. And you can see here with NT, there is a Kyler Murray RPA that just sold for $12,000. I think that's undervalued. If you look at Herbert and Burrow going for, 19, 20 grand on an NT RPA, I feel like there's a lot more room for what that guy does with what weapons they have. He's got they got like a mini Sean McVay as their coach, a guy that's creative. J.J. Watt on that defense. Chandler Jones with 5 sacks. I mean, I might even say with the Niners and Rams playing so well that the Cardinals might be the best team looking-wise. They came in and they smashed the Titans. The Titans were probably favored to win that game. Derrick Henry had 60 yards. Couldn't get the ball, couldn't run the ball. They just completely manhandled that game, and Kyler was doing what we all expected Kyler to do.
It's being in the NFC West, it was really the last thing that you expected to see. Niners, I get it. Niners were supposed to beat the Lions. They beat the Lions. Seattle was supposed to beat, who did they play again?
The Colts. That was probably the most underdog game that I really didn't pay attention to, but it seemed like it was well handled throughout the whole game.
I mean,
Wentz performed all right, but it was clearly the Seahawks were.
Yeah.
the superior team.
And then you see Kyler, and we've been talking how athletic Kyler is. And now that he has even more weapons to throw to, he's been in the system 1 year longer now. He is hands down the future. Is it Cliff Klingberg?
Cliff Kingsbury.
Kingsbury.
Yes, that's
I knew it was Cliff.
She sells best usually.
Sounds like a Flintstone character.
But that Kyler was his quarterback. He took that job in Arizona because he knew he had the first overall pick.
And with having a first rounder you just drafted
the year
in
year
Rosen.
before. And he did not care because he was like, this is the guy I'm going to be able to build my football team around. And he is proving to be right. I am saying that Kyler Murray is going to win the MVP of the year.
Wow.
He is going to win the MVP. Barring injury, he is 100% going to win the MVP.
We might have been 1 year
lock
early
that.
on it because we were saying this last year.
No, I'm locking it down this year. He is he's electric. He can run. He can throw. He's got touch.
He does, and he was on in the conversation. If you guys remember last year in like week 6, he was going to be the first guy to get 3,500 yards and I believe have 1,000 yards rushing. He was flirting with that, and he was on pace for that. And then he just had a tragic 8 weeks to end the season, and I think he was battling some injury issues. That's my only concern is the size. I mean, obviously the size allows him to have that speed, but he takes a couple hits if they don't have protection on that line. He's a smaller guy. You could see the picture that I took with him, and he makes me look like a lineman. So it's a short guy, but completely really accurate, big arm. And that running ability is kind of second to none in the league. He's so fast and elusive.
I think you kind of saw that last year as well, though. Early in the season, they allowed him to take off and run. I think they tried to get him to stop doing that, and I think the defenses realized that he isn't that dual threat every time he goes back to pass because he was battling injuries. And It was like, you keep on running, you're going to aggravate those injuries. You're going to be out for an extended period of time. So I think defenses really started zoning in on the fact that, he's probably not going to run. And he didn't run.
Yeah.
So, again, injuries do play a big part in it. But if he does stay healthy and he ends up, game in and game out being that dual threat, he will win MVP.
Absolutely. And we got one last guy to talk about who had a big week, and this is going to tie into our giveaway. So we are going to give away another $150 in site credit so you can jump into one of these upcoming football breaks. I want to know which guy week 1 made you think about buying cards, whether you did it or not. You're like, but you went on eBay or you thought about it and you're like, I'm going to start following this guy, and maybe this might be a guy potentially that I want to buy. And it doesn't have to be somebody on this list. It could be somebody else that, just the week 1 performance. You're like, you know what? I forgot about this guy, or this is a new rookie that, like a Waddle or a Smith or a Jamar that you're like, I'm interested in buying him. But the last guy we have on this list is Mr. Dak. I was watching that game, Dak Prescott, and with I think 6 minutes left, I was like, man, this guy's having a great game. I went on eBay and I bought 2016 National Treasures, a box. I bought another case of 2016 National Treasures. I bought 2 boxes of Select. They got refunded. The guy said they were damaged all of a sudden. They must have sat on it all of a sudden right in the middle of the game. And I also bought a box of Spectra, and the guy claims he was out of town and it got sold in the shop. But he knows us, so he's giving me an opportunity to pick something else. So I got to get back to him. But so that just shows you that why are all these boxes being sold of 2016? they want to keep the cards. So, keep the boxes. They think they can make more money. So that just goes to show you that, when somebody from the Cowboys, the leader of the Cowboys, has a somewhat decent game, it really changes that fan base and increases those cards. And Dan's another guy that Dak, you've been talking about Dak. You picked Dak in the offseason a long time ago.
I don't know if trading cards is my future. Maybe I should be like a scout.
Trading cards, scout.
Because I don't get them wrong very often.
Card ladder should make you an offer just to get on there. Or
I could guarantee you if I started doing that, I would get them wrong every week.
Yes, when there was money on the line or jobs on the line.
Yeah,
right?
They're like, this guy never gets them right. No, but I mean, Dak Prescott. What do you say about him? We sit there and talk week in and week out. Like he stays healthy. The weapons he has. Is there a team that has more offensive weapons than the Dallas Cowboys?
Maybe the Cardinals, but no. I think with Zeke there, the Cardinals are missing a running back. But granted, Zeke had a bad game.
Maybe
Tampa.
the team on the other side of the ball on Thursday night, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, might be the only one.
You look at receivers though. You have CeeDee Lamb, you have Amari Cooper, and you have Michael Gallup as like your third guy.
And even their tight ends, Dalton Schultz.
Their tight end, Dalton Schultz, and the other dude in the band. Dallas. No, not Dallas Goedert. He got drafted by the wrong team.
There is another guy.
He should have been drafted by
not
Dallas.
Jason Witten.
Not Jason Witten, but Dalton Schultz and not Gavin Escobar. I'm going the way back machine.
2013, baby.
But they do have two guys. I think Dalton Schultz is the main guy. The other guy kind of lost his gig.
Yeah.
Because Dalton Schultz, if I'm not mistaken, former Stanford.
Is it Blake Jarwin?
Blake Jarwin. There you go.
Finally came to me.
So Dalton Schultz and their defense looked good. Their defense was a question mark, but hard to say going against Tampa Bay. Like you were saying about all the weapons, like you can't judge their defense on that one game.
I think DeMarcus Lawrence might have gotten injured as well. So, and he was playing a big factor on chasing Brady down. So, but was it Stefan's brother Trevon Diggs had a good game? Looked really like a upcoming Pro Bowl cornerback.
You know what they don't have? You know who had a terrible game? Greg the Leg.
Yes. A lot of people blamed him.
You can make an argument that they lost that game because the great Legatron.
Yes. Who didn't have that problem when he was playing in L.A. or St. Louis?
Yeah, he was having a tough go. I guess he's been battling injuries. But if it was that bad, he probably shouldn't have been out there kicking because he single-handedly lost that game. You could actually say straight up, he lost that game.
Yeah, he will probably not have a gig if he does it again this week. So, kicking is so incredible. You think about it being such a position that should be easy, but the mental aspect of the game seems like nothing we can kind of imagine in our heads as non-kickers. You miss one or you miss two, you miss three. Now you're completely thinking about it.
In his head, though. In his head, the only thing he could have done that would have been worse, so the left upright is where he was missing everything, right? And then the ones that he made were like right near the left upright. I was like, if he actually overcorrects and misses it right, he may never be able to kick again. Because at that point, he's like, I'm trying to overcorrect what I'm doing. Now I'm missing right. I'm missing left.
Jeez, it's crazy.
But he did figure it out. He did make a couple of them. He made an extra point or two. But I would be concerned going into next week if he misses his first field goal. I'd be like, I don't know if Greg the Leg is gonna.
And I believe Dallas.
Be the kicker of the future.
Dallas plays the Chargers this week, so we'll figure out a lot of things. We'll figure out, was Herbert real? I know he squeaked one out there in Washington. Washington is tough though, and you've got is Zeke going to be able to get back on track? Now I know LA/San Diego has a pretty good defense, so we'll see.
But if you actually look at they went in to that game against Tampa Bay knowing that they were going to have to be somewhat one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay's run defense last year was the best in the league.
Yep.
So they knew, and not having Zach Martin.
Yeah.
So you don't have your best offensive lineman. I think they changed their game plan around, and just Zeke wasn't going to be a vocal point.
Yeah, they still tried it, but it wasn't effective.
Well, you can't be completely one-dimensional, but they knew that Zeke wasn't going to have 23 carries for 150 yards.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, Fantasy Owners gets it back on track with actually Zeke and Henry, which is both guys from
Don't remind me.
Which you got Henry, right?
I had Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and Julio Jones, and I had Deebo Samuel on the bench.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to start Julio. I think that's the right move.
Oh, I'm starting Deebo.
Now you gotta start Deebo.
I'm all in.
Now it's going to be Ayuk with 200.
I hope
Yeah.
so. I drafted Ayuk really, really high. I left him on my bench because he was one of those receivers where I was like, I want to kind of wait and see before I just put him in the lineup, more of a depth guy. But I'm not starting him this week.
Well,
Nope.
Yep, and I want to say I think whoever beat me, they beat me in the hype league by 10 points, and I had Odell Beckham in there. It was a complete and utter rookie mistake. I was traveling. I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but I did not see a injury notification on Thursday when I made my line. I'm sure my lineup was in for Thursday, and yeah,
Got
a fat 0.
I felt like I had a pretty good week, and I still lost. But
I had 111 points.
I had 100. I think I had 127.
Wow.
And I lost. So
Don't take advice from us on fantasy.
Yeah.
is the moral of the story.
it pretty much was because Shane brought up T.J. Hawkinson, and Doug ended up drafting him. So it's.
I don't think he
lost.
did that great for me, but he put up point. He did better than Robert Tonyan.
Got it. Again, you're telling me.
Well, I have been in another league that I lost by 8 points, and I had 0 from Robert Tonyan. So I was looking for the tight ends on that league, and I think somebody picked up Cole Kmet. That was the only guy I was really thinking about, but it's tough when it comes to tight ends. Well, let's talk some baseball before we round out the end of the show. Obviously, we talk about Shohei Ohtani a lot, but Vlad, Cody, what's Vlad been doing lately?
He's going to win the dang Triple Crown is what he's going to do.
Really?
He's going to win the danged Triple Crown. No, I don't know. Maybe. He's what? I think he's leading in average. As of this recording, he's leading in average. He's leading in home runs, although Salvador Perez he
Came
hit
out of
another
nowhere.
home run. He's got 45 now.
I want to give that guy a test.
Yeah, by the way, I was looking at as I was looking at Shohei versus Vlad and their cards, I just saw Perez has now the tied Johnny Bench for the most home runs by a catcher in a single season. You can get his cards for I don't know, about $250. His best cards. So
was he originally drafted by the Royals?
He was. He is a lifelong
Yeah.
Royal.
Wow.
I think I saw the highest recent sale was a lot of about 50 first Bowman Chrome cards of Salvador Perez for about $2,400. So,
Jeez.
yeah, you can get his cards pretty easily. Right?
What?
Anyway,
That's the Posey theory. It doesn't. They don't. Just
right,
doesn't
and he's
matter.
got a World Series.
Yeah.
He's got a World
I mean,
Series.
but Posey doesn't hit 46 home runs.
Right.
No.
So yeah, what do you do there? Why is it? I mean,
But I think that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is kind of taking the spotlight away from Shohei Ohtani in the last month, and that was going to happen. The Angels are out of it. The Blue Jays have been one of the hottest, if not the hottest team in baseball. They're in the wild card hunt right now. They're in that second spot. And suddenly the MVP conversation is completely changing.
Yeah.
I think it's still probably Shohei's to lose because he is such a once-in-a-lifetime guy. But if we're talking cards, and I'm going to throw up the next slide here, I think this is such an easy decision if you're looking to buy. Shohei cards are basically in another stratosphere right now. We have two numbered to 5 rookie autos of Shohei, both 9.5s. One went for $175,000 back in August. Another one went for $40,000. Similar cards.
$75,000.
And that is, and we will sit here. We've talked about this before,
Right.
but it is very. Which Shohei Chrome rookie auto do you want?
Well, it looks like right here people
Do
are
you
going for the
because he
hitting.
has so in original Bowman, he had one that was his. It didn't say first Bowman on it. Technically, is the first one that came out. He's pitching. The Bowman Chrome that came out, he's hitting. This is the one that we're looking at. It's the Bowman Chrome. I still don't know which one you want. I would say you would want the first one that came out. You would want.
That's
the
what I would
pitching.
say, too.
You want the one where he's pitching. Topps did a great job with this, doing that whole photo of him pitching, and then the next big Chrome release they have him hitting.
Well, because at that time they didn't know if he was going to be great at both of them. So you have two options to
so
invest in.
it looks like the hitting one might be the one taking over,
Yeah.
but We also got to see the data on the pitching one as well.
So I did want to also throw out, then you have the Vlad Guerrero Juniors. Again, you have a first Bowman, Vlad Guerrero. The two other cards are rookie cards of Shohei Ohtani's. They pale in comparison, and they were just recently sold, as Vlad is having this incredible stretch where he, again, may very well win the Triple Crown. The only thing he's really lagging behind is RBIs. I think he's about 5 or 6 behind, which one good day, you're suddenly right there. And basically, you can get a first Bowman orange shimmer card. You can get about 6 or 7 of those for the price you could get the 2018 Chrome Orange Refractor Auto of Shohei Ohtani.
It's a little.
I almost want to double check that one just didn't sell too low. It almost doesn't make sense.
I looked it up and I couldn't believe it. And I think his average sale, the highest it goes, is probably in the 20K range. But there are Shohei cards that are that's probably like the 20th lowest right now. It feels like it sometimes.
And
at his peak, it felt like it.
And the crazy thing about Shohei, again, getting back to it, we just talked about the pitching release, the photo, and the hitting. And you sit there and go, well, you're comparing him to Vlad, and Vlad has a first Bowman. Where do I find Shohei's first Bowman?
Well, you got that mega box one.
I'm doing a softball for you. I'm trying to let the people know. It was 2018, I believe.
Maybe 17.
It was a year. Cody may know, actually, based on the fact that it was a WBC.
That would have been 2017.
2017
WBC.
There
I
was
believe.
mega box releases that had Shohei Ohtani World Baseball Classic cards in there,
and it was spelled wrong.
And it was
spelled
wrong.
Otani.
Yep. And that, I guess, is why Shohei doesn't have your typical first Bowman.
Well, he also didn't go to the minors, so that was another reason why. So he literally got signed and was on the roster. So they didn't have a minor league period where they made a first Bowman. It's kind of like there's been a few guys like that where it's just they just got signed and they didn't have a chance to get a first Bowman. Whether as like a Joe Adell gets drafted and he goes in the minors system.
Yeah,
right?
even guys like so you're saying, but so if say Jason Dominguez would have got signed and they would have just been like, you know what, you're so good, you're just going to make the team.
Yep.
He wouldn't have had a first. He wouldn't have had a first Bowman.
Right. I think there's a lot of international guys. Yu Darvish did not have a first Bowman.
Their first Bowman is a rookie card, basically.
Yeah. So because they've already proven themselves over and wherever they're playing.
But you don't think it has something to do with the fact that he had a Bowman card, it being a World Baseball Classic, I guess, insert, but it was his first Bowman Chrome card.
Yes.
You think maybe if he didn't have that,
this would be the first Bowman.
That would be the first Bowman.
Yeah.
And I think clearly that the collective community has established this is his first Bowman, that those rookie cards, because it was outperforming the WBC first quote unquote first Bowman cards.
Doug has a WBC transcendent stamped card that
Pop one
could be worth.
might be able to buy a house with it. I don't know. Maybe people don't see the value.
Who has? I mean, yeah, hard to say. But we have a man. My predictions go also with baseball as well.
You just can't lose.
You know, I get it. I get it right with football. Then I just jump in the baseball. I've been talking about Shohei. Everybody was like, Shohei's garbage. It's over. I'm like, no.
Move over, Vegas Dave. We got Vegas Dan. We got Vegas Dan.
Man, if I would, and I actually was telling Doug, I'm like, we're not selling our Shoheis. We're just going to hold on to them.
I wanted to sell.
We probably should have bought more. I probably should have been like, you know what? I'm going to double down, and I'm just going to go ahead and buy more. I didn't, but we have a pretty good collection of Ohtanis.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and obviously he plays for LA, a little bit more of comparing him to Vlad. I still feel that Vlad is undervalued, and you got to keep in mind, Vlad is going to probably have a better chance of making a playoff, so I feel like it could be a buy. It almost seems that the prices Ohtani's are going for it. I don't want to say it's the peak, but it could be.
Don't do it.
Because people know he's not going to be in the playoffs, so you're going to probably get a little bit of an off-season dip.
But I think what you are going to see, this is what I'm going to say with Shohei Ohtani. They're not obviously going to make the playoffs, but good chance he can win the MVP. So you'll see a little bit of a peak there.
Even
Yeah.
if Vlad wins the Triple Crown, it's
But-
pretty much slam dunk.
But what we are going to see,
Yeah, that'd be a tough decision. You got a guy because
It's 2012
Cabrera
all
won the
over
MVP,
again.
right? When he
It's 2012 all over again with Trout versus Miguel Cabrera, and now I feel like the tables have completely turned where you say, well, but this guy's pitching and he's hitting and he's doing it at an elite level for both things, whereas Vlad is only 22 years old and might win the Triple Crown, which is any other year. We would just be all in awe of what he's doing.
yeah, and again, with Shohei, you're going to see he wins the MVP, a little bit of a peak there, but where you're going to see a substantial peak, where people are going to go crazy, and his stuff is going to go through the roof, is going to be the people who are speculating in the 2022 season.
I was just gonna say, yep.
So you're looking at February, March, where Ohtani cards, if he does win the MVP, and they are going into new season, and maybe the Angels go out and they get like a Scherzer type of player, or they get Scherzer, or they basically go all in and they basically they go big, right? Then you're gonna see Ohtani cards go through the roof.
You're right. That's probably going to be. You're absolutely right. I think that's the right time to sell because I think you got you got a little bit of a bump with the MVP, but I think going into it, maybe the Angels sign who knows, Stanton or some pitcher, and then they spend the money in. I mean, because they're out of that Pujols contract now, right? So we got some money to spend.
Oh, isn't Scherzer a free agent?
Scherzer's a free agent. Clayton Kershaw is a free agent.
And Scherzer is in LA.
Yeah, it makes a lot
He
of
was
sense.
saying that he wanted to be on a West Coast team.
They're going to need at least 2 or 3 starting pitchers. and
So
that's
you
a great
look
place
at
to start.
the Angels, and their main issue they have right now is the top of their rotation. You have Shohei, and I don't know if you want to rely on Shohei as being your ace, but if you get like a Max Scherzer, now Shohei is like the third guy in the rotation. It's going to make his stats even better because generally he's going to be going against the other team's third guy as well.
Well, and you know what record that I just heard of, and I don't know if he's still on track for it, but if he does get 50 home runs and 30 stolen bases, he'd be the only one in history to do that in a single season. So
while he's pitching.
yeah, while he's
the ace
so,
of the staff.
So
And
I think as of last week he was 7 behind in both categories. So I don't know what he did over the weekend. But
And the crazy thing about Ohtani is that, again, have him on my fantasy team, both pitching and hitting. He kind of plays as like 2 different players. But he actually, 90% of the games, when he starts pitching, he's actually in the lineup. When his first year, when he came to the Angels, that wasn't the case. He actually would generally hit, and then when he pitched, he would have the next day off.
yeah.
Now they're just like, not only you don't have the next day off, you're back in the lineup, but you are actually going to hit and pitch on the days that you're pitching. Yep. So I would actually like to see how many at-bats he has. He probably has the most at-bats on the team.
Yeah, pretty
I know.
close.
That's
He's got
crazy.
you. I do want to
Crazy.
bring it back to Vlad Jr., who I think is so undervalued. It's insane. Because I really do think, and this might be as hot a take as it gets, but I think about 5 years from now, I think the safer bet for the hobby is Vlad Jr.
Yeah.
Because I just think the what Ohtani is doing is never been shown to be sustainable. I do think even if he does have another great year where he's hitting and pitching, maybe 2 or 3 more years, at some point he's gonna have to make the decision: are you a
100%.
pitcher or are you a hitter?
that's what
Whereas Vlad
you've been saying.
Jr. is just gonna keep getting better as a hitter. I mean, again, he's 22 and he might get a 50 home run season, lead the league in on base OPS and everything, the whole shebang.
At least they moved him over to first because
And they moved him to first where it's a
yeah.
better position. And he's also like, Toronto's nothing, like that's no small potatoes right there. That's a huge market.
Yeah.
And the whole country's on your back as well. I think that the ceiling is so high for him.
Yeah.
And I think that, that traditionally, we're going to look in a couple of years ago, oh, he's been the best hitter in baseball now for like 3-4 years.
Yep.
And no one's even touching him.
I can definitely agree with that. Hot take. I'm gonna basically throw it back to you real quick. I know we're talking Shohei, we're talking Vlad. Where do you put Vlad with the other guys that we talk about all the time? Wander Franco, Juan Soto,
Trout.
Trout, Fernando Tatis. I'm trying to think of like
More of a younger.
I'm trying to
The
think of like
younger guy,
I'm trying to think of
Soto,
like
yeah.
I'm trying to think of guys who generally are in the same wave is like Vlad Guerrero.
I think now, and his prices don't reflect it, but I think for my money, he is the guy. Soto's had an incredible second half. It stinks that he's not on a good team because he's quietly having one of the best second halves of all time, but no one's talking about it because that team's not good.
Yeah.
The Padres Tatis stuff, like the fact that the Padres are really struggling as of late, has really, I think, soured things maybe a little bit, although Tatis is still a shortstop, but he may be moving to the outfield, which I think actually hurts him in a little bit for his card value. Maybe this is me just doing recency bias, but a 22-year-old who is leading the league in almost every single hitting category, this doesn't happen. The last time it happened was Trout.
Yeah.
Like, we are talking like Trout right now with what Vlad Jr. is doing. So
just
I'll go Vlad.
violent home runs for compared to Trout. I mean, his home runs sometimes are just something to see.
He's already got more homers in a single season than his Hall of Fame father ever had.
That's a crazy stat.
That is a crazy stat.
His dad, a little bit different player. His dad had you can actually see like similarities in their swing. They do basically have very like violent swings, but Daddy Vlad was a little bit more of like an all-around player. He did a little bit of everything.
One of the
He
best
stole bases.
arms in right field.
One of the best
ever.
arms.
Yeah.
I think Vlad Jr. does a lot of really good things, but his best attribute is his power and hitting.
Well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you guys for listening to the show. Once again, Mojobreak.com for your breaks, where we're breaking everything. We got brand new Optic. We're going to have some Allure hockey for next week. Lots of stuff. We still break it NT basketball. We're still breaking Donruss football. I mean, it is a great time to be in this hobby and digest these newest releases. I mean, so many things going on. And if you want to buy your own box, we got mojobreakshop.com for your sealed wax needs. We ship around the world, so check that out. We've already got some fantastic sale prices on some items, as well as some great pricing on pre-sale items as well. So we'll see you guys next week on episode 206.